Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Cast with Q. Tonight we're going to be going over God knows what. Stay tuned. Well, this is my first podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I've just set up my podcast alcove. I feel like these things look very strange to somebody. Say they walk into your home and you're a podcaster. They look over in the corner and there's like a whole shit ton of action figures and comic books. And they're like, what goes on over there? Well, as you can see, I have yet to put up my action figures. I have to drag them out of storage. But I've got everything else going here. I've got some HeroClix up there, if you guys know what HeroClix are. I've got my sweet, sweet RC330 right there. Oh. And I've got a whole bunch of books over here, too, to show you that I'm classy and that I'm intellectual. That's really what I want people to know. I'm a nerd, but I'm intellectual too, you know, so don't discount me. I'm going to be getting in some lava lamps here pretty soon. I'm thinking maybe a blue, a yellow one, maybe a purple one. Wonder if you guys can hear the birds in the other room. Probably not. Hopefully not. That's the hope is that you cannot hear them or see them. Apparently owning birds is a weird thing. People say that it like makes you a crazy bird man. Now I've heard of the crazy cat lady before. Everybody's heard of the crazy cat lady. Who hasn't heard of the crazy cat lady? But I've never ever heard of a crazy bird man. Perchance it stems from the Merlin and Archimedes trope. I don't know. Archimedes is such a great name, isn't it? Archimedes. Can you just imagine Merlin? Archimedes! Where are you, damn owl? Because, owls can understand you if you're a wizard. So anyway, there's a few things that I want you guys to know about me, first and foremost. And by first and foremost, I mean after a lengthy introduction that had nothing to do with anything. My name is Patrick Quinlan. I go by Q. That's why it's called Cast with Q. I've done HeroClix videos in the past, if you guys know what HeroClix are. I stopped doing HeroClix videos because HeroClix it's going down a path I don't like. But we'll discuss that later at a different date because I don't really want to focus on HeroClix for my inaugural podcast. Another thing to know about me is that I think I'm funny. And I've got a lot of self-esteem. Secondly, and by secondly I mean thirdly, I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore. I'm really just trying to test the waters here, see how podcasts work, see how much effort it takes me to edit this video. If you're watching this video and that part's still in it, then I didn't put a lot of effort into editing, did I? I've spent a decade in the music industry, a little over a decade. I was in a punk rock band called the Skagbirds. We played, it's easy to call it punk rock, but we kind of did the breadth of alternative rock. Sometimes it'd be something a little bit heavier and sometimes it'd be something a little more pop punky, but in general, we stuck to good old-fashioned rock. You can find all of our music on Spotify if you feel so inclined. Speaking of... one second. My brother Joseph... Maybe he doesn't want me giving his name out. I don't know. My brother Joseph came out with a single a couple weeks ago. I forgot what the name of it is, so I'm looking that up right now. I'm sorry. Whoops. So my brother Joseph's name for his musical endeavor is Clean Risk. All caps, one word. It's all caps because he's edgy like that. The song is called On the Run. It's a brand new song. He just released it. Does it say when he released it? It does. Just says 2021. Anyway, he just released it. And if you like electronic or you like kind of 80s type music, old-fashioned synth music, you will love this song. I promise you. It is absolutely fantastic. Joseph's a brilliant writer. You really have to listen to it if you haven't. On the Run by Clean Risk. He's got an entire album previous to that, which I would also highly recommend, and I'm featured on some of those songs as well, and in some of the music videos as well. But yeah, so yeah, check that out. A few other things. Let's just off the top of my head. Let's just go off the top of my head. Black Panther was released in the Avengers video game a couple weeks ago, maybe. I'm not sure exactly because I didn't look it up. And just as you suspected, Black Panther is unbelievably fun to play. He is so unbelievable. It's really quite a joy to play him. But the game still sucks. There's only so many robot enemies you can fight before you're like, oh, geez, can you just give me like can I get some brood or some, I don't know, like an alien or something, a goop monster? Like anything other than a geometric looking robot from AIM. And let's go to that too. In this game, it's like the source of all evil is this industry, Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM, which in the comics is, they pose as a legitimate scientific endeavor, but they're really more like a terrorist organization on the line of Hydra. They're very rarely shown doing anything legitimate. My point is that this game is like incapable of doing anything other than AIM is the villain. AIM is the villain. From this woman character, Monica Ramatucci, Papacita, Monica something or other. Anyway, she doesn't look interesting. She doesn't really sound that interesting. The only thing interesting about her character is that she double crosses the other villains, which is like, wow, you double crossed a villain. What an OG, like, what a fresh move. Never seen that before. Anyway, they keep building it up as, AIM's the bad guy. You'd think at this point, if the whole world knows that AIM is, like, doing all this shit, and, they literally brought a sentry back to life, a Kree sentry, which was the coolest part of the game, mind you. The last 15 minutes. You'd think if they brought this Kree sentry back, everybody would know now. Okay, AIM is not, they're not out for the benefit of the human species. I mean, the Avengers are fighting them. I know the Avengers broke up after they made one mistake. But even the Avengers are fighting AIM. And it seems like people don't really, they're just like, yeah, AIM's still a totally legitimate business. Okay. All right. A nice surprise in the Black Panther storyline was that Taskmaster's been done ad nauseum in that game. Crossbones was actually in it. I saw the costume and I was like, is that? And then he's like, Crossbones here. And it's like, yeah, it is Crossbones. Crossbones, for all those who don't know, is the guy who shot Captain America on the steps of the White House, on the Capitol, after a civil war. And for 2 years, Cap was dead. 2 or something years like that, Cap was dead. And everybody knew Crossbones killed him. And then, Cap used that, like, Romeo and Juliet thing where he just, like, slows his heart down so you think he's dead, but he's not really. And it's like, why? It could have been a great ending, really. Oh, that's another thing you guys should know about me. I like permanent endings. I really like permanent endings. But you know what my favorite type of permanent ending is? And this is going to be very strange to hear, but it's the cyclical permanent ending, like you see in Russian literature a lot. I'm a big fan of Dostoevsky. So it's the general idea that things end, and you can see that there's an end to the story, but it has kind of wrapped itself around again, where it's continuing in infinity. This whatever is going on with the character. That's a really simple explanation of it, and probably a very poor one, but that's the general idea. I'm a big fan of things like that. Like, what's a good example of a movie that does that? I guess like Joker. You see Joker, and at the end of the movie, he's in the asylum again. So again, he's back where he started, which is actually where he was before the movie even began. They mentioned that he was in an asylum, and he came out and had medicine and all that. But he's back in the asylum, and then he starts killing people. And you know from knowing who the Joker is that this is the cycle. It's going to keep going like this. He gets put in the asylum, he kills people, he escapes, put back. And it's an ending to the story of the movie The Joker, but at the same time, it implies so much more. It leaves you with, this is the end of our story, but there's more story there. Which isn't to say you need to go back and explore those other stories. That's what people these days are doing. It's like if there's even a sliver of an idea left untouched in an IP, people jump on it and try to, make they try to explain too much sometimes, I feel like. That was actually going to be one of my worries for the Joker. I know I'm like 3 years late on this. I don't care. You think I care? I don't care. There's no dislike button anymore. Fuck it. I can say whatever I want. I just forgot what I was going to say. Joker's a splendid movie. It's so good. It is so good. The ending is brilliant. Anyway, it's such a great movie. You know what? I'll say this about that movie. Something that movie does, and this is why I think the mainstream media didn't like it very much, why mainstream critics didn't appreciate it. Because generally when something calls you out, it's very hard to be humble and to admit maybe that that's something that has to do with you. It happens a lot in our culture these days for various different reasons, for dumb, stupid reasons. But here's an example of something. In The Joker, you can see that he's this guy and he's got this particular issue, and it really affects him, and it makes his life awkward when he laughs because he becomes anxious. And it's their weird laughs. Joaquin Phoenix does such a great job of portraying it as like a hindrance to him, not as a positive or a thing that he just deals with. No, you can hear him, gasping for breath after he's done laughing a few times. Anyway, the people in that movie, the regular people in the movie, they consistently treat the Joker, or Arthur Fleck as he's called in the movie, as they treat him like a freak, like a weirdo, and they hate him, and they speak to him in awful, awful ways. That woman on the bus in one of those first scenes, when he's just trying to make faces to the kid to make him laugh, and the kid's laughing at it, and he's enjoying it. I get it, I don't want some creepy stranger talking to my child. That's problematic, as they say. But that's actually really problematic. But, she turns around and she's like, would you stop stop bothering my kid, is what she says. Would you stop bothering my kid? And he's like, I just was telling him You can see as the movie goes on, the reason that he starts diving deeper and deeper into this psychosis is because of the way other people in the movie treat him. It's because of the way the regular humans on the street treat one another. He says it at the end. He says, nobody's civil anymore. Everybody screams and yells. And I think that's the beauty of this movie. This movie, there's a whole bunch of, you can, take your pick of any shit Marvel movie. And I love Marvel, okay? Modern Marvel movies are starting to become real ass. Real ass. And we're going to go into that. Don't you worry, children. Don't you worry. But that movie, The Joker, it showed... So, okay. You have movies like Captain Marvel. Anybody can be... You're a hero. You can be a hero. All these movies, they always do the same thing. They're like, don't you want to be, you can be a hero. Video games do the same thing. A lot of marketing campaigns do this where they're like, you're a hero. You're such a great person. Our culture now, our media now is telling us we're a hero for doing something that doesn't make any sense and doesn't follow science. We're going to leave it vague like that because I don't want to be canceled before I can even get going here. You can't. I'm just going to be blunt about this. Everybody thinks that you can be a hero just by thinking that you are and calling yourself that and maybe doing one or two things that weren't shitty. And you think, I'm a hero. I'm a good person. That's what most superhero movies try to do. They try to make you feel like you are the hero, like you could be that character. And in a good movie, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, the original one with Willem Dafoe and Tobey Maguire. Yes, I said Willem Dafoe's name first. I can see myself in Peter Parker. You know, especially people who've been dealt or who've had a rough go of it in life. You can really connect to those characters, and that's great when it's done well. But you got all these movies nowadays saying, "Oh, you know, everybody's a hero. You can be a hero." Most people are not heroes. Sorry, but they're not. Heroes are the exemplary people. The people who are better than everybody else at everything that they do. I know it sucks to say that, but generally speaking, these are the people we're talking about in comic books. Do you think you could be Moon Knight? I don't think you could be Moon Knight. Do you think you could be Daredevil? I don't think you could be Daredevil. I don't think you could. I don't think most people could be Peter Parker. I don't think most people could be Ben Grimm. I don't. But that's not the point of those characters. The point of those characters, when it's done right, it inspires you to want to be like them and then to take and do actions that make you like them. You want to be like Ben Grimm. You want to never give up. You want to be loyal to the end. You know? You want to be like Daredevil. You want to fight for justice any way that you can, any time that you can, regardless of how difficult and painful it is. But we all make mistakes, and we're all lazy, and we all get caught up in our comfortableness, especially us here in America. Comfort is your enemy. It really is. That's why I advise eating nails on a regular basis. I'm kidding. I don't advise eating nails. And for the record, I was talking about like hardware nails. Metal nails, not your nails. You can do that if you want. It's still disgusting, but you can. So, yeah. All these movies tell everybody you can be a hero, but the fact of the matter is that you really can't, because are you really going to sacrifice all your comfort and your pleasure to do the thing that's right and just? Most people won't. The Joker, however, takes it from a different perspective. The Joker says, look at this. We always say everybody can be the hero, but you can be the villain. All those people in that movie who treated him the way they did caused him to become the villain. Is it selectively solely on their responsibility, on their shoulders? No, of course not. But each interaction that he had with those people in that movie put him further down the path to psychosis and murder. That's because we humans, when we're interacting with one another, sometimes we might think that it's not really going to affect anybody, but it always does. Everything always affects everybody, no matter how minute. You might not be able, with your tiny, smooth human brain, you might not be able to understand that the ramifications of every tiny little action that you take. But it's chaos theory. Everything rolls. So all these people who were really awful people, just rude and not nice, and they didn't murder anybody. They didn't, they didn't use a racial slur against him. They just treated him like garbage because they couldn't be bothered to be nice. And that's why the Joker became the Joker in that movie. So what I think the critics don't like about this movie, and maybe this is just me psychoanalyzing the critics, but somebody's got to. I mean, geez. Is that they don't like that that the movie turns it on its head and it says, oh, villains, you want to know why they exist? Because of us. Because of us. Because of our inaction, or because of our own evil actions that then contribute towards this snowball of evil that continues to go and go and go. And that, my ladies and gentlemen, is the name of my next punk album, Snowball of Evil. Speaking of a snowball of evil, I was going to make a Brian Stelter joke, but the time has passed. Anyway, Joker, great movie. Great movie. You know what's not a great movie? The Killing Joke. The comic is great. The comic is fantastic. If you haven't read The Killing Joke, I'd highly recommend it, but the movie is not good. Not good at all. Which is surprising because DC animated movies are, generally speaking, they're very quality. I'm of the opinion that if the Dark Knight Returns, Part 1 and Part 2, if that were made shot for shot, word for word, in live action, it would, in my opinion, probably be the greatest superhero movie of all time. And the Fantastic Four are my favorite superheroes. You can see I'm a Marvel guy. But I love Batman. You know, if you like good storytelling, and you don't, and you're not one of these, you know, these people who thinks, there's a lot of people like this who think that all things related to comic books are just childish. I mean, you can say that, and you can have that opinion. It's a fair opinion to have, I suppose, because children like colorful things. They do. And when comic books were first made, to a degree, some of them were oriented towards children. To a degree. But that doesn't take away from the fact that writers and illustrators over decades now have created some very mature stories for these characters and have really, really pushed the envelope on what can be done in that medium. They really have. I mean, if you take 1962's Fantastic Four, issue 1, you know, you read through that. It's a bit cartoony. You know, it's a bit, you could read it to your children and there'd be nothing offensive in it. You wouldn't, you know, I guess nowadays you can take your child to Twilight, your 5-year-old child to Twilight, and there's nothing offensive about that. You can see a full-grown woman in half her clothes twerking on stage, and that's appropriate for children. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get on that rant. I don't even know where I was going. Marvel's great. Oh, yeah. If you compare the original Fantastic Four to, say, Sin City, which I have over there as well, what Sin City does to comic books, what it allows for now in that realm, is just, it opens it up. It's huge. You can tell stories that are, I mean, Frank Miller's telling a story half of with his illustration and half with the words that he uses in the story. And you get this experience that you're not able to have in any other way. If you've watched the movie Sin City, you know that it's not as good as the graphic novel or the comic book, whatever. Does it matter what we call them? Graphic novels, comic books? I bet you there's some snob. Yes, of course, because mine is a graphic novel, you see. It's not a comic book. Comic books are for children. Mine is a graphic novel. So, there's people like that, but I think it's a little ostentatious to call it a graphic novel, but that's just me. I don't have a negative connotation associated with comic book, so yeah. Well, this has been a good stream so far. It's not really a stream because I'm recording it and then going to release it later after having edited it somewhat. But yeah, I look forward to continuing this, to doing more of this. It's a little scary. I'm the kind of person who likes to avoid social media at all costs if I can. Social media is pure cancer for human interaction. And I mean, I mean that literally. Like, it's going to destroy our human interactions if it continues down this path. But I think there's enough people who are awake, who are aware that the humans communicating through electronic means, devoid of emotion, devoid of, you have to understand, there's a million, I don't know the exact number, but there are many, many, many muscles in your face. And when you're speaking to another human, those muscles move sometimes imperceptibly even to yourself. But other people can see that. And they can take from that a different meaning than maybe the words themselves would have meant to somebody. So this constant, this is what it is. These kids these days. And you're like, hey, Connor, can you park that car? And he's like, yeah. He's all upset. He's got to do work. Good God, these children. All right, I need a cigarette. Good night.